welcome to the second iteration of today's GSTL. It's time for our losers match. We got our winners, now we've got our losers.
Both teams that are playing now have not won a single match in the GSTL just yet. They are both struggling quite a bit. FXOpen is up against Seoul, and the loser of today will be 0-3 in the standings.
Yeah, and whoever loses that probably having no chance of advancing, especially if FXOpen loses, since they already have a poor indicator. There's Choya, of course, and the FXOpen team. They really need a win today. They were the team that was kind of the forefront of GSTL for a while. Choya was known as the best coach, but this season they've been looking a little bit weak.
Yeah, the season has been really weak for them so far. On the other hand, they faced both teams that didn't lose up to today when we had our winners match. They won, they lost, of course, against not only Axiom Acer, but also against Team Azubu. So today they want to change that. They are up against Seoul, and Seoul is in the same situation. They lost both matches. They lost one to Axiom Acer, but the other one they lost to StarTale. So today we have him, the man to the right, Sanai first for Seoul, and for FXOpen, Gumiho will be the starting player.
Yeah, Gumiho being the starting player, a little bit surprising for most people, because in the past, Gumiho was kind of one of the anchors of the team along with Lenok. You see him come out later, sometimes last, sometimes second to last. The only time you really see him come out first is when he all-killed Slayers in the GSTL Finals in Busan. So pretty rare to see this guy come out first, but he's a good all-around player. Yep. Every now and then you do see him first.
This season we didn't see him perform just yet. This is the third match, of course, for FXOpen, but so far Lenok was not one of the players that they were banking their hopes on. This time it's the starting player. But before we jump into the match between FXOpen and Seoul, let's have a quick look at the match results. This is, of course, the game that we had earlier today.
Yep. It was a pretty crazy one. Crank taking the first 2 wins, then Center 2 wins in a row, taking out Crank and Ryung. A really impressive game against Ryung. Alicia took him out as well as Supernova, so only Crank and Alicia able to secure wins for Axiom Acer, but those 4 points were enough to win them the match.
Yeah, the Protoss definitely coming through for Axiom Acer and Alicia in the last battle with a lot of micro there, even though later on in the interview he stated that he was not really happy with how he microed.
Yeah, I don't know how he could have microed better than that, but I guess like maybe in a perfect world, maybe if he was a robot, he could have done a little bit better.
Automartin 2000 kicking in once again.
Yeah.
Here are our standings. As you can see, Seoul and FXOpen all the way at the bottom. 0 wins and 2 losses so far. -6 indicator for FXOpen. Definitely not the start that they were hoping for.
Yeah, definitely not. And they really need not only a win today, but to win as well as possible. And I think that may be one of the reasons why we see Gumiho coming out first, but we can't say until we see him perform, because he could be in incredible shape suddenly. Who knows?
Gumiho definitely struggles in Heart of the Swarm a lot more than he does in Rings of Liberty, but the matchup against Zerg is probably kind of his best matchup these days. As you can see, with the breakdown of both teams, we currently have 4 players in the Premier League for Seoul. For FXOpen, it's only a single one.
Yeah, for those of you guys curious about what those letters mean, because we never really explained that, Q means they haven't yet to qualify. They're in the qualifying round. C is Challenger League, and P is Premier League. So pretty self-explanatory there, but the Q might be confusing. But that's people who are still in the qualification rounds.
FXOpen met a lot of players at the qualifier as well, the WCS Korea Challenger League qualifier that just happened a few days ago. One of the players that was able to actually qualify was Seed. Here we have Haiba though for Team Seoul, the only player that was able to deliver in both team wars so far.
Yeah, and he did deliver. He's a player who's known to be aggressive, oftentimes all in, but he played some great games and he looks strong this season, so I'm looking forward to seeing him come out later today if that does come to it.
Yeah, I think that's definitely one of the players that we will see for sure today. Here you can see the breakdown of FXOpen. The starting player today, as mentioned before, is Gumiho. Probably the best player these days, definitely Hurricane, who has a lot of success in individual tournaments. Lenok, a shadow of his former self, might be able to get that win today, but FXOpen, they need someone to really step it up.
Yeah, there's Seed. Maybe he can be the guy to step it up. Definitely a top-tier player, but has not really shown dominant performances just yet this season.
Blanca, aka Tacita, also part of FXOpen now. After NSHOSA disbanded, they acquired one of the players, and the same can be said of the Seoul team. NSHOSA's Sanae is now part of Seoul. We'll probably see him in just a second. He's the starting player for his team.
Yeah, and really curious to see if Youngju is going to show us some better play than what we've seen from him just yet.
I think 2 of the players that we can expect today once more are Deer and Trap. Very strong Protoss players, especially good in the matchup against Terran, so that's one of the things that we might see today.
Yeah. And, Seoul is a team that's got a lot of experience in the other format, not the all-kill format so much. And there's Haiba himself. He's
Alvin from the Chipmunks.
He's stroking his little sideburns there.
No Clyde Burns just yet. Well, he's definitely one of the players that is always good for a win or two in the Team League, and that's something that he showcased not only in their first match but also in the second. He's definitely one of the players that we would expect to come out today. Probably going to be last once again. That's so far the position that he's been taking. Might come out a little bit early depending on the situation, depending on who exactly they have to face. But I feel for me personally, the question is more, what is FXOpen going to do today? They cannot be happy with what they did so far this season. They were always main contenders for the title. In 2012, it was their year. But this year, and especially in the second season, it is it's a little bit disappointing, their performance.
Yeah, and you can see the disappointment on Shoya's face a lot of the time when you see shots of him, and sometimes his players lose because of build order losses, or they get sniped, and you can see the frustration on his face because he's got a plan. He always has such a good plan, but sometimes things fall together the wrong way.
One of the things that we could see earlier was actually that Patience, who we saw in our earlier team match, was one of the players that is pretty good in Protoss versus Protoss, and he was going up against Seed the last time that FXOpen played and took down the starting player of the team. So that's not going to happen today because Seed is not starting off, but Gumiho, a player that we haven't seen too much in the GSTL just recently, might be able to edge out that victory against Sanai, who we've only seen offline 2 times so far.
Yeah, that's very true. The roster of FXOpen is pretty big compared to Souls as well, and that's something to consider in this round, you know, as they start things off. Their lineup is a little bit more predictable than FXOpen's. On the other hand, if you study FXOpen, you can kind of see a pattern of which players they generally use and in which order, so there's still a pattern to them, they just have a lot more options.
Yeah, they have definitely a few more options than their opposing team, but for example, even with the poor results that he had recently in the Team League, I would still expect Leonok to come out today if need be. Seed is probably one of the players that we will see a little bit further down the road. But yeah, Choya with the team has a lot more options. Hurricane is a player that you would think is always going to be part of the lineup given his results recently, but still, there are a couple of players that could always swap with one of them, SC being one of the players. Lucky, a player that is being used in the Team League a lot. So they have a lot of options.
Yeah, they really do. So the question becomes, you know, who's going to get the momentum here first? Sanai being the starting player for Seoul versus Gumiho. Sanai hasn't shown the best results in offline matches. Gumiho, on the other hand, in Wings of Liberty was incredible. In Heart of the Swarm, he hasn't shown the best results either.
We saw Sanai for the first time in the preseason for the first GSTL season this year. That was in the Heart of the Swarm beta, and Sanai played some really interesting games and showed a lot of promise. But then later on, in the regular season, we saw him play, and I can only describe his playstyle as nervous, I would say, because he made so many mistakes, and the build order that he went for didn't really make sense. He was trying to do 4 things at the same time, and he got punished hard for it. So it was not only him playing greedy, but the build itself made no sense. It was actually a point of discussion with a lot of other Zerg players that were here in the studio, and everyone just kind of said that wasn't his best play.
That was weird,
that didn't make any sense. There was no idea behind it.
Seed space right there just basically described like how everyone was feeling about it.
Yeah, so Sanai back then maybe lacking the experience a little bit, maybe a little bit nervous. Now he's the starting player, which means that he could prepare for his match a lot more than players that have to play later on today. Maybe that's exactly what he needs. And I'm curious what kind of Sanai we're going to see today. The killer that we saw in the preseason, or the nervous guy that was part of the NSOSA lineup in the regular season in Season 1.
Yeah. That's definitely what I would like to see, because Gumiho was someone who said in the preseason of GSTL, just before Heart of the Swarm was even released, the first real offline tournament, Heart of the Swarm, said, hey, I'm really liking these medevacs. I think I'm going to be great in Heart of the Swarm. So far he hasn't shown it, but I really, really want to see that potential that he has show through in Heart of the Swarm.
Yeah, Sanai here with his yellow keyboard up against a strong Terran. But yeah, as you already said, I mean, back then Gumiho, he took he took like every player, Protoss players, Zerg players, didn't really matter, apart with this medevac play. It was crazy, it was incredible. And when he saw that the medevacs got a buff, he was so excited. He was saying like, well, I do not know what my opponents are supposed to do against me. And then Heart of the Swarm came, and it turned out that he was struggling a lot.
Yeah, Gumiho is a player who I always thought was going to make a GSL Finals at least, and it just never happened. His moment may yet come, but he does not look as strong as he used to, and he needs to prove himself for his fans as well, because I'm sure he's still got so many fans. He's the Towel Terran, he's the Nine-Tailed Fox, and today he's got an opportunity to take that first win and put his team into the lead.
Yeah, Frost is the starting map here. And Gumiho, I mean, his best matchup these days is probably the matchup against Protoss, where he's doing quite well. He has a 17% win ratio in Heart of the Swarm here. Against Zerg, he's actually looking pretty solid. He still has a 50% win ratio, but with a tons of maps played. So we'll see how he can perform today. I feel that his problem is always performing in the Team League, at least this season. But he was one of the backbones of his team, and I think that he can actually do that again. I would still favor him here over Sanai. He is the player with a lot of experience, and he doesn't seem to be phased in the slightest.
Yeah. And just making sure that Sanai gets his head set on before we start here. A lot of players so used to playing with their earbuds, they forget to put it on in the booth. Now the headset's on. Frost is the map, as you can see below. I'm excited for this one. I really want to see how Gumiho's been doing. We have not seen him all too often these days. I really want to see if he has improved. He's the starting player, good all-around player in Wings of Liberty, and Choya must have that same confidence in him in Heart of the Storm right now because he's sent him out as the starting player.
Yeah, for me it's a little bit more interesting actually to see how Sanaya is going to do, because I want to see his development as a player, how the new team is actually going to help him going into this game. If he picked up, if he was able to train with his teammates and just make sure that he is now a challenge for Gumiho. We're going to find out right now. It's the opening game between Soul and FXOpen. Get the GSTL.
Bringing you that fuel source fresh from the core. Right mind, thinking strong. You like iodine. With blueprints, these huge quotes that my mind designed.
The Nine-Tailed Fox is starting to the top right of the map. Frost is map number 1 between FXOpen and Soul. This is the Towel Terran. This is
FXO Gumiho.
Gumiho in this matchup, pretty solid. 50 maps played, 50% win ratio. And he is up against the player to the top left, the former NS Hosa Zerg. It is
Soul Sanai.
There's Sanai. Very new to the StarCraft 2 scene.
Okay.
Well, that's some interesting fan art there.
Yeah, definitely.
It looks like him, you know.
Well,
Gumiho. Ooh. I don't know if it's like trying to put out the O or like emphasis on who, like, as if like he's an owl or something. But
I don't think that's really the point.
I don't think so. But you know, because if you say who, it's almost like you're asking who is he. I thought it was just
okay. Now you're overdoing
Gumiho is what I was feeling there, right?
Detective Wolf is on the case.
That's what I'm thinking. Because I mean, if you extend the vowel, I think he wanted to extend the vowel. He didn't want to change the vowel. He wanted to extend it.
You should go down during the break and ask.
I'm sure he's listening to everything I'm saying. I saw he had earbuds in, so he's probably listening to English commentary.
He can enlighten you later on.
He probably wants to tell me, but he can't come up here and tell me. I mean, if he knew how to get up here, he might, but
yeah, the very handsome admin would probably stop him.
Yeah, probably so. Because he doesn't know what we're talking about. He doesn't know what's important to me.
What is important in the game now is that we have pretty normal opening here for Sanai with a hatch first into pool. And for Sanai, I mean, we talked a little bit about Gumiho's statistics. If you look at Sanai in this matchup, it's pretty transparent that he has a lot less experience than his opponent. He's actually 2-5 against Korean veteran players offline. And the matches that he won were against the single play. He won a best of 3 without dropping him up against Kong. That was just recently, it was like roughly 1.5 months ago. And he lost matches before that against Ryang, Cure, Sound, and Dream. So Sanai definitely the player who has to prove himself here. Gumiho rather the player who wants to like perform on the same level that he did in the past.
Yeah, he's gonna get a really fast factory out here first following his Reaper to get that reactor out, start putting some Hellion pressure on pretty quick. Unfortunately for Gumiho, he doesn't know his opponent's starting location, so the Reaper is not going to give him very much information early. He's going to scout incorrectly. He may intercept this Overlord, which would give him a good idea. And the Zerling is, of course, already out, so the Reaper not going to do any damage whatsoever. And it's going to be very late in knowing that speed's coming out.
Yeah, and he's still trying to block the gas here at the bottom.
You know, I wonder if he wants to use that drone to try to see if the factory completes or not. I guess that's probably what he's going to do with it.
The drone is probably just going to be for scouting reason. I mean, taking the second gas like a match all doesn't usually do you a whole lot of good. Ooh. So that doesn't make too much sense if he doesn't have anything for scouting. But he's already working with the drone and trying to take down one of those SCVs. The Zerglings are helping out as well, just delaying that command serve for as long as he possibly can.
Yeah, you know, having that drone there actually makes a huge difference in how he can finish this, or in this case not, because he knows that there's going to be no units out for Gumiho with that fast reactor.
Wow, he got already one kill. Did he get the second as well? No, he didn't. Only one Harvester kill so far. The Zergling goes in. Oh, it's surrounded. That's just mean. I mean, that was 5 against 1. There's no fair play there.
No fair play. And that did delay Gumiho's command serve pretty significantly. But he lost a few minerals to do it with that drone. All those cancels start to add up.
Oh, so I think he's pretty happy about this. Yeah. Delaying it a little bit, forcing the SCVs over the line for just a few seconds, and only sacrificing a couple of Zerglings. So I think he's pretty okay with that. The drone actually escapes the vision of the Reaper and can instantly drop that third base around 620. So pretty good position actually here for Sanai. Speed is kicking in. He can use his Zerglings to just make sure that he chases down the Reaper. The Hellions, of course, might be a problem a little bit later on, but yeah, the Reaper here doesn't stand a chance. Shouldn't actually.
Yeah. I think the Hellions are there to spot for a drone going to make the third base, because he still doesn't know that it's there. And unfortunately for him, he's already missed that chance. He's going to come over here with second pass, see that it's there, and go, okay.
Yeah, he still doesn't check. He does not anticipate that there is going to be an expansion. Now he knows, just saw it, moved in and detected the hatch. At the same time, we have an Overlord entering the main base of Gumiho, getting the first scouting information there. Not seeing the expansions, but an attempt to surround the Hellions.
And not a very successful one. A good idea, though. He wants to snipe the Queen. He may very well get it. Nope, not quite.
That was a little bit a very optimistic play here, though, by Sanai. Moving in right away with the Zerglings. On creep, of course, if he can bait the Hellions out, then he can try to surround, but he needs a few more units than that.
Yeah, he has damaged the Hellions a little bit. He saved most of his Zerglings.
He actually doesn't build any additional units. He's just going for the wall at the front, and now it's going to be the main question if those Hellions will be able to get in here.
Kelder, he's going back behind this. Of Hellions. He's adding some more factories. He's got his command center as part of the wall. Speed Overlord comes in here and sees this. Man, that's a really nice time for the Overlord to scout so he can set his speed so he can get all the information.
Yeah, the Spine Crawler comes down now. You actually think he can really take down the Spine Crawler? Not quite. There are too many Queens. He's using the Queens now. Bailing Nest goes up for Sanai. Getting the +1 attack upgrade. He needs to make sure that those Hellions are not able to sneak in. That's exactly what they're trying to do. And they might actually be able to do it. There is nothing.
Oh, Sanai leaves a huge opening here, and Gumiho is like, what? Is this real? He didn't even expect this.
Oh my god.
This is going to be a disaster. So many drones here. A late pull as well.
That was actually a nice move blocking the Hellions. That was a really good move here by Sanai, but he needs to make sure that those drones don't go in.
Oh, wow. He's used the drones here to fight. This is not the right choice.
The initial move was amazing. It was so smart by him using 3 drones to block, but then he loses 24 in the second wave. Oh my god, Sanaya might just have lost this game.
Yeah, that was a very painful experience, and he's going up against mech play, and he's researching +1/+1 for his Zerglings and Banelings, but he's going to want... I think he may want some Roaches here against this type of play rather than going into more Lings, especially considering how many Hellions are still on the map.
What he really would like to have are Swarm Hosts, but that is a long way down the road. The problem for him really being, the initial defense was amazing. He pulls all the drones together, he splits 3 off and puts them on hold position. He blocks all of the Hellions, gets in with the Zerglings and the Queens and starts doing damage. The problem for him was that he didn't have enough units, so he pulls the rest of the drones away, but once the initial 3 that were blocking the Hellions are gone, you can't protect the rest of them. So he didn't have anything there. It was a huge oversight by Sanai, and he's paying really well.
Yeah, he's in a lot of trouble now. He's spent a lot of larva to re-drone, and that means that his unit count is pretty low right now. 22 Lings on the way. Baneling speed as well. 1 Baneling morphing here. They'll give him a total of... Well, actually 1. He didn't finish any Banelings before this. There's the very important Roachborn coming down. He's absolutely going to need that against all these Hellions, the Hellbats, and even some Siege Tanks here.
I'm not sure how much the Spire is really going to accomplish for him here. If you're up against mech, Swarm Hosts are always a good choice. The problem for him really being that with 24 Harvesters lost in the early game, your economy is so low, even with the lava mechanics and your ability to rebuild, that you will fall behind. But right now, also with the tech that he chooses, going into the +1 attack upgrade for range, I think that Swarmhorse might have been the better choice here. The problem really being is, as soon as Gumiho identifies what's going on, he will just crank out anti-air, and that should be soon enough to help him. And that first Thor is already building.
Yeah. And, you know, also, it's really easy for him to just add a few Widow Mines in to help deal with Mutalisk as well. But the Thors here are so useful. They're even decent against ground units because they fire so quickly. They do a lot of burst damage. He just has his third base up for free, so now he cannot pressure. And if you ever are meching and you have 3 bases up for free, that is exactly what you want. It allows you to build the composition that you really want to have here. He does not have Blue Flame, don't forget either, for his Hellions.
Drop is coming in now, though. He's going in with the Medivacs, has already been spotted, of course, and is already being followed. But those Lings are definitely not where they should be. A lot of them already going down on their way to the main base. The Bailing not doing anything at all. And here comes the Drop right on top of the Queen. Is trying, actually, to hit those Harvesters. The 2 Hellbats are already in there. There's another 2 go straight into the net.
No, Sanai, no!
Oh my god. What was that?
Oh!
The pain. 44 Harvesters killed.
Was that a
46?
misclick? I mean, you gotta realize the Hellions are still there. Do you think there was only 1 Medivac?
I do not know what he was thinking, but it was definitely... I mean, I have no words for this.
46 Harvesters killed in total.
He pulled them away and then stacked them up and rallied them right into the Hellbats.
I think maybe he thought that Gumiho was gonna
Go
pick
to
up
the
to
net, though.
chase. You know, yeah, but then he just didn't, and the drones all died.
The problem is he had Hellions at his 3rd base and he had another set of Hellbats at his natural, so I think he was just completely overwhelmed with what was going on. But right now, I mean, the worker supply is still in his favor thanks to the lava mechanics, but the problem is that he can't build a whole lot here anymore. He goes into the infestation pit now. That will allow him access to the swarm host then. But in general, just looking at the upgrades, the position of Gumiho is already incredible. And now with Vikings to zone the Mutalisks out and a couple of Thors on the ground to make sure they can't cluster, this is not looking good.
I really like this counterattack, though. He goes around the location that Gumiho would not expect him to go for. He takes a long way here. Unfortunately, he's not going to get a whole lot, considering the mech army is pretty mobile and able to come over here and deal with this. I mean, I say mobile, but I mean to say it's just nearby. I mean,
yeah.
You can easily just walk it right over and deal with this.
And I'm just waiting for the sunglasses here.
Yeah.
This is, I mean, he's going into Swarm Host now. I think that's something that he should have done right from the start. Going into the Mutalisks here didn't do him any good whatsoever, and that was kind of to be expected, to be honest. Only if Gumiho would have horribly overextended himself would that have had any chance of success. And now with the Swarm Host being so late, he cannot hope to stop this mech army. This is an A-move situation right now for Gumiho. He can actually go for a smoke, and he can come back to welcome the GG screen.
Yeah, and I think that with these 4 Swarmos coming out, he's going to realize that defeat is inevitable. More drones stacking up to die. Sanai is really good at that today. That's been one of his...
68 Harvesters killed so far. 71. He might as well go up to 100. If he would have gone straight into Swarm Host, he would have had a chance to stop this.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, even then it's a maybe, but like... We're going into like Mutalisks first only works if you can really blindside Gumiho, and that just doesn't help.
Yeah, no, definitely not. Gumiho's about to hit +2, which is going to help him. And even these Vikings are killing
Mutalisks. Usually as a Zerg player, if you see Vikings going up against the Mutalisks, you're like, sick, it's Christmas, come early! But not in this situation.
No, goodbye at the final Mutalisk. And the base is dead here. Spire about to get killed. Looks like he just canceled one of his upgrades there. I think that with the scan, the Swarmos will die, and so will Sanai's chances of taking this first game.
I mean, it's excuses here, but that's already done. I can hear the fat lady singing.
You know what's funny is the Locust actually gives the splash damage to kill the Swarmos without a scan.
Yeah, that's actually true.
And GG.
GG and game over. Gumiho takes game number 1.
That was, we talked about nerves. I don't know if that's exactly what we saw there, but dealing with that drop play was definitely poorly executed by Sanai. That's what cost him the early game.
Yeah, that's not even where it started. The Hellions going into the base for free was also one of those points that should never have happened. You should have seen this, especially with his creep spread, and he should also have anticipated it once that the Hellions went into that route. So he lost too many harvesters right off the bat. I like the micro, like his micro is really good. The probe split, the drone split that we saw to protect the rest of the harvesters was really well done, but he just didn't have enough units. But that's when he already lost the initiative. Then he went into the Mutilus, questionable choice in my opinion, since it's so easy to defend against them when you're so far behind. Then, as you already said, the defense against the drop was, it was just not good.
Yeah. It's hard to defend well against a drop like that when you have so few units. He barely had any roaches, He spent all of his larvae to make drones, and he made a bunch of lings. But if you send all your lings to defend that drop, then you just lose all your lings anyways.
And let's be fair, Gumiho also, when he executed the job, he did that really, really well. He did not only drop into the main base. It was not only a single target attack that he executed here. He dropped into the main base, he sent the second medivac right into the natural. At the same time, he attacked with Hellions at the third base. There were so many focus points where Sanai kind of had to jump to, and I think that's why he made this mistake of rallying his drones back into the mineral line, because he probably thought that Gumiho was just picking up the Hellbats, going straight for the natural, and didn't realize that two of the Hellbats were still staying behind.
Yeah, sometimes when drones get pulled, you try to even lift in the medevac and go towards the ramp, and so he was probably just anticipating that, then just went back to the minerals. He's like, I'll deal with this. My user about to pop out, kill the medevac, it's all fine, but did not end up being that way. Let's find out who Soul's going to send next. I could see Trap here. And it is, in fact, Deer. So, another Protoss player. And
that makes sense. We talked about Trap and Deer being really, really strong against Terran, so it makes a lot of sense to send out one of the two Protoss players here.
Coach not looking too stressed just yet. Obviously not happy with the results of what we just saw, but it's only one game down. And Sanai's a player who's not that experienced, and he's probably actually trying to get him that experience. And even if you lose in such a fashion, you get more experience in the booth.
Yeah, and Dia has a pretty decent chance against Gumiho now, given his record in this matchup. But as we said already earlier, this is also probably the best matchup that Gumiho currently has in this game. The matchup against Protoss. So it's going to be an interesting match between the two of them.
Yeah, we are going to have a 5-minute break before that happens. When we get back, we'll let you know the map, and we'll commentate the game. See you then.